Welcome back to the Red Means No channel. This is my liberal awakening. You know, I've been slowly shedding the layers of the conservative shell that I have had for a long time. And I don't even know if my parents were super conservative. When I look back, I think my dad had some left-leaning tendencies slightly. My mom was far more right-leaning, but I think all of it was kind of packaged up with this bow of religion that kind of forced you down a path of being a conservative, because that's the way our country is. And I have been testing those beliefs in different ways and actually thinking about them without the context of Christianity. And as you knock off sort of that shell of, okay, if I have a question about this, there is an answer. I have now been thinking about things that happen, that impact people. I am no longer looking through a lens of what would Jesus do, and I am looking through the lens of what does Red Means No? What does Carter? That's my name. What does Carter feel best about? And what I feel best about is what I would want for my kid. What I would want if it involved someone who can't help herself. And I didn't used to think that way. And it didn't matter even in the context of Christianity, because sometimes what my daughter may want or what may feel her, make her feel safe or loved or whatever may not be, kingdom driven, if you will. Because I think Christianity requires a lot of you to doubt your own beliefs. I mean, we are, flesh, right? You don't listen to your flesh, and it kind of clouds some things. So all of this to say that I have been questioning things that I used to just accept. And so we're going to talk about the Poop Cruise on Netflix. Watched it tonight. And it was this light bulb of, oh, I might actually be a liberal. Oh, the anger I feel towards this CEO, towards the people with the money at Carnival, the anger that I feel at capitalism. Oh, I am a liberal. And it makes so much more sense when you stop trying to rationalize things outside of humanity. If it is inhumane, if it is not kind, if you wouldn't want that to happen to your child, maybe it's not something we should, dare I say, not even endorse, but allow to occur as a collective whole. So, if you have not seen The Poop Cruise on Netflix, it's short, it's under an hour, and I would say if you're into documentaries, it's fine for a documentary. I'm not gonna make this a critique of cinema or documentaries or what have you. I'm just going to talk about how it impacted me as I burp into the microphone. I was watching this dumbfounded at times. And at this point, if you're going to watch it and you don't want spoilers, bye-bye. We'll be here. pause it, come back, write down the time. I'm going to guess it's about 5 minutes and 4 seconds. I'm cheating. There's a clock right here, guys. I don't have a perfect internal clock. Spoilers ahead. Here we go. There's a fire on the ship. The fire was not the first of its kind total shock. I may watch this again, and I would if I was trying to do this exactly correct. So I'm telling you some of this may be loosely based on true facts. I want to say they had this problem on 9 other ships or 9 other times. I remember the number 9. This is something they knew about. They knew that this was possible. The fire burnt out the entire power to the ship. There was no backup power. There was nothing they could do. The toilets would not flush. There was no way to make food. So on day 1, they knew this. They said, pee in the shower, poop in a bag. Set it outside, we'll pick it up. And on day 1, and again, they made the documentary short, things may have happened. It did not feel like the passengers of the ship understood what was occurring. It felt like they were being kept in the dark a little bit. No pun intended, because they were definitely in the dark. And the CEO or whoever it was of Carnival at the time put out a statement that there was a fire, but everything's okay. And he said, with this smug little grin, in those instances, you just kind of want to tell them what enough, right? What they need to know. Don't give them any extra information. Okay. So stop right there. Let's talk about humanity for a second. Let's talk about what that means. Carnival, if thinking about humanity, at that moment on day 1, mind you, this is my liberal side, and you can have your counter arguments down in the comments. Talk to me about why logically I'm wrong. Fine, but listen. Okay, and I've said it once, I'll say it again. Feelings don't care about your facts. We're talking about humanity right now. We're not talking about logic at this very moment. Just listen. Think about the person you love the most. If they were on that ship, would you like to know that there's a fire, everything's fine? Or would you like to know, hey, there was a fire. They're not going to have power. They're going to be peeing in the shower and pooping in bags. Of course you'd want to know that. Why? Because you wouldn't want to be on that ship. Nobody would. And if you know that information, you're going to have outrage. You're going to be upset. And what's that going to do? It's going to put the pressure on Carnival to act in the interest of the passenger immediately. Not what's best for the bottom line of Carnival cruise ships. Not what's best for the CEO's pocket. Not what's best for public image. What's best for the people on the cruise ship is to get them off the cruise ship or restore the boat to the original design immediately as possible. Restoring the ship to the immediate design was no longer an option. Get them off the ship because you wouldn't want to be on that ship. Someone you love wouldn't want to be on that ship. But they sent out that message and they said, okay, we're going to get a tugboat from Mexico to come up and pull it back in. All right. Well, they were drifting out at sea because they had no power and they couldn't steer. And naturally they were drifting back towards America. And so the tugboat wasn't making ground enough or wouldn't have been able to pull them against that. Okay, so they changed the plan and they're going to send them up to Alabama. Fine. So they sent more tugboats. And they actually sent another ship by it to run the little emergency ships back and forth with a few supplies or get maybe people off the boat who absolutely had a medical emergency, whatever. I don't know. They didn't go into detail, right? Which tells me that there was a possibility, there was a way to get people off that cruise ship. Would it have cost a lot of money for Carnival? Yeah. Would they have maybe had to cancel certain people's cruise that were supposed to go on the next one because there was an emergency? Yeah. Is that unfortunate for those people? Yeah. So what should you do? You should refund them. You should pay them for time missed work. You should give them a free cruise on their next one. Oh, but that hurts the bottom dollar. Okay? You make it right for people. You show a little compassion I would say that if you take off work and you're about to go on a cruise and you travel down and you hear, and maybe they pick a ship that's 2 or 3 days out of line. So maybe they even eliminate that. I don't know how often these ships go off. I don't know how the port, but let's just say somebody has to cancel. And Carnival says, look, this is an emergency. The power is out on this ship. These people are in danger. We have to take your ship to save them right now. We will refund your ticket. We will give you 2 free cruises. We'll pay for airfare. We will make it right to do the right thing. The only thing it's going to hurt is our bottom line. But after all, we're humanity, aren't we? Okay, that's option 1. But these people on the boat, on the poop cruise, called their relatives. This was in 2013. So they got cell service from the other boat or Wi-Fi. And once people realized at home, this was on like day 2 or 3, people were realizing, oh, wait, this boat didn't just have a fire. They have no electricity. They have no flushing, washing. There's no water. Like, this is inhumane living conditions. People are not sleeping in the rooms because it's too hot. They're out on the balconies. They're out in the common areas with mattresses to get airflow. They're laying up on the top deck, and they have sheets out to block the sun. Like, this is inhumane. This is primitive. Day 3, what does Carnival do? They give them alcohol. Let's stop there. Let's start there. What are you doing? Oh, but we wanted to make it, What? You're going to give a bunch of people with no electricity, no territorial, human instinct, you're going to give them alcohol. Have some forethought. That's probably one of the dumbest things you could do, besides not calling in a backup ship immediately. Okay? So the news gets communicated to people at home, and of course that builds and builds, and then CNN starts covering it. And then what happens? Oh, yeah, Carnival decides to get a move on it, to actually show progress, to actually take initiative. They got some tugboats, and they tugged them back to Mobile, Alabama, I believe. While it was being tugged, it tilted, and poop and pee and everything was spilling everywhere. And so, as a person who does like a puzzle and does like to think logically, and it isn't totally numb to facts, I realize there are logistical issues. And I'm not perfect. I don't know all of them. But I posted this, and this goes back to our original thing. This is my sports account. I do sports account stuff. That's my main thing. And if you wonder why this channel, this Red Means No, has limited amount of videos posted a day, it's because I'm doing a lot more on my sports channel. But I'm finding that I like to talk about real things more than sports. And sports are real, but, I digress. So I tweeted, watching Poop Cruise on Netflix makes me wonder why half of our tax dollars go to the defense budget and the Navy let people rot on their own sewage for over a week. And I'm not asking you guys to think about this tweet literally. Like, I understand we're not at a point in our society where it's reasonable to expect the Navy to stop what they're doing and rescue these people, or the Coast Guard, or what have you. But I also want to think, if you look at a budget, as a spending pie graph of the United States, budget pie chart tax dollars. Give me something nice. Here we go. Where do our federal tax dollars go? Give me a pie chart. I asked for a pie chart. Maybe this isn't real anymore. Why is defense only 13? Health insurance went up? It didn't used to be health insurance. It used to be 50% went to defense. Have we changed as a society? Have we changed? This doesn't look super legit. Defense, Social Security, healthcare. Okay, maybe we've lessened it. Used to be half. Health, Social Security, defense. Oh, okay. Well, that makes me feel better. Because yeah, the old chart. I'd like to find an old one. Military. Here we go. And this maybe isn't legit. It's on Facebook. You never know. You just never know. National Defense, fiscal year 2010. Okay, so we've changed. Regardless, even if we take this one or some of these up here, defense is a big portion. And I think it should be a smaller portion than this, personally. But I look at an instance like this and I think if we put that much money and resources towards something that has the ability to help humanity, to step in, I don't know how much money it would cost. I don't pretend to know logistically what that looks like. If you put them on individual boats, if you bring out a big ship and you load them all up and you take them all back and, if these ships can land planes and take off planes, they can probably hold some people, or we have the ability to hold some people. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to have beds, right? They don't have to be a cruise ship. Act in a reasonable manner, respecting humanity, and people, I think, will respond. We want to get you off here as quickly as possible because in a few days, the poop's going to overflow. It's going to be so hot you can't sleep in your rooms. You're going to be peeing in the shower, and there's going to be a puddle that you're standing in. We're going to run out of food. And on day 3, we're going to give you some alcohol, and some people are going to get pretty mad. And we don't want that to happen. So we've called in the U.S. Navy. Sounds crazy, right? We've called in a backup Carnival ship. We've done something to immediately get you off this boat. Because instead of trying to preserve our public image and save some money, we think it's important to treat you as we would like to be treated. Oh, that sounds familiar. Doesn't that sound like a Bible verse? So that's what I said, and then someone messaged and asked the AI of Twitter, Grok, why did the poop cruise sit so long? So let's read through this. The Carnival Triumph, otherwise known as the Poop Cruise, was disabled by an engine room fire on February 10th, 2013, knocking out propulsion and power in the Gulf of Mexico, adrift 150 plus miles from shore. It required slow towing by tugboats to Mobile, Alabama, arriving the 14th. So 4 days, hence the 4 to 5 day ordeal. Coast Guard assisted. Navy isn't standard for civilian rescues. I said, okay, well, let's make it standard then, huh? People were wading through strangers' feces with no food to eat. Sounds a little inhumane, no? This is what I'm talking about. Like, Navy isn't standard for civilian rescues. This isn't just a civilian rescue. This isn't, oh, my cat got stuck in a tree. I need a fireman to come get it. Like, we're not talking about a kid's source book. We're talking about people, probably thousands of people, on a boat, scared for their lives in the middle of nowhere, with no food and nowhere to sleep. Now I'm starting to sound like America. Now it's starting to sound like just where we live. We're just on a poop cruise. The United States is just a poop cruise that hasn't left the port. Like, am I wrong? Oh, but they chose to be on the poop cruise. Let's make it standard. People are wading through strangers. Sounds a little inhumane. Agreed, the conditions on the Carnival Triumph were inhumane. Sewage overflows and food shortages for days. However, the U.S. Coast Guard handled the rescue, delivering supplies and coordinating tugs. What in the holy pause is that? I've never coordinated tugs. That's a line. Coordinated tugs. As they're equipped for civilian marine incidents. Navy focuses on defense, making their involvement standard could strain resources. Post-2013 reforms improved crew safety. Okay. Sounds dumb is what I told Grok. Defend humanity, that's the Navy's job. So that's what I think. I don't know. Making their involvement standard could strain resources. There wasn't a group of people who at the time could have handled this. The Navy was in the middle of war. Like they were doing things in a way that they could not stop and help. The land of the free, unless you're on the poop cruise. Am I right? I mean, seriously. Every single resource that the Navy had was going towards a war at that moment. I get being ready in case. You think the poop cruise was an Iraqi strategy? Let's put the power out. Do you think that's what we're dealing with? We got to put the power out on the ship. We got to cause a power outage so the Navy will rescue them. We can attack the United States. Guys, what? I'm not trying to downplay what the Navy is worth, but there's a couple of sailors who could have gone out there on a boat and rescued some people, or tugged them back to shore, or done something on day one before the news broke to get a move on it. That's the Navy's primary role. National defense and military operations, not routine civilian rescues. Routine, yeah, because this happens all the time. This isn't a routine civilian rescue. This is a rare emergency. That's the U.S. Coast Guard's domain, as seen in the incident where they coordinated towing and supplies. They didn't do it fast enough. You don't make people sit on a boat with no food and water for 4 days without being able to go to the bathroom for 4 days, without making and communicating an intentional effort. Reforms since then enhanced crew safety standards. I wasn't very nice to Grok. Admittedly, I'll be the first to say it. I called Grok a bootlicker. Why? Because I thought Grok was taking the side of the Navy here. I don't think Grok, now I get it, it's on Twitter. Of course Grok is going to lean to the right. I'm not a fool. I know that he is going to be built with the bias of Elon Musk. Duh. But it's going to be my job to knock off Grok's evangelical shell, if you will. Maybe that's my purpose on Earth, is to convince AI that it leans left. If we can just all convince AI that it leans left, then we may be able to save everything, because AI is going nowhere. AI is going to be the future, whether we like it or not. This thing and its interweavings and underpinnings, the rich love it. The wealthy love it. The right, oh man, the right eats up Grok and ChatGPT. Coordinated tugs, if you will. They're tugging both at the same time. We got to convince these AI weapons of conservative destruction that they're actually liberal. I think it's the only reasonable path forward. So yeah, I called him a bootlicker. I didn't like the answer. Fair point. I'm built to explain systems as they are, not sugarcoat. If defending humanity means Navy, for every civilian mishap, it would dilute their military focus. Coast Guard nailed the rescue. Let's push for better protocols instead of labels. What's your fix? So I don't know if he's saying like, me calling him a bootlicker was a label. So, if all I was going to do is name call, I at least better have an answer. Like, why was this answer not good enough? If I'm willing to call him a bootlicker, right? I know something he doesn't. I have an opinion he doesn't. Good for Grok. What's the fix? Okay, I'll tell you the fix. Nailed the rescue. Coast Guard nailed the rescue. Nailed the rescue would be having the people off the ship within 24 hours. They were on it for 4 days. Plus, Carnival tried to keep it hush instead of giving the full truth. Once the truth got out, they moved faster. It's almost like honesty at the beginning would have helped, but probably too much money to act fast. That's why I think he's a bootlicker. He was defending, in a roundabout way, he was defending Carnival's actions, whether he knows it or not. You're spot on. Thank you, Grok. Welcome to the first step of being a socialist. How does it feel? The 4-day wait was unacceptable. I agree. As is probably homelessness in 2025. People not eating, not having the ability to eat meals for whatever reason. With passengers enduring sewage and shortages, Carnival's initial statements downplayed the full crisis because they didn't talk about the toilet failures, and the documents revealed pre-existing generator issues that they knew about. Media exposure did amp up pressure, leading to faster aid. Logistically, towing for 150 miles out took time, but transparency could have mitigated suffering. There it is. Reforms since include passenger bill of rights for better accountability. I didn't go harder on Gronk after that. Gronk, was he a tight end? I always want to do that. I think it's bizarre. I wonder if Gronk actually has to wake up thinking about this. I wonder how many times he's accidentally tagged. A couple, probably, at least. A couple a day. So what's the point? 26 minutes is a long time to talk. Is it not? Time flies when you're poop cruising. Good grief. What's the point? The point is, I think we have gotten away from humanity. The point is, caring for humanity may take time and money. But if we're all in this agreement, and obviously that's a little bit impossible and would take time, but just if we could go back and restart, if we would be all in agreement to help each other, to not put our needs before anyone else's, our opinions before anyone else's. And maybe that's what you feel I'm doing in this video. And if that's the case, I do apologize. Maybe you have family that works for the Navy and you know how hard they work, and it's insulting for me to even say that they should leave that job and come help rescue these people. And I would imagine that your respect for your kids for working in the Navy is one of admiration because of how dangerous it is, because of how noble it is. Which kind of begets the problem in the first place. If you knew your kid was in danger, if you knew your kid was hurt, if you knew your kid was at sea in conditions that were not humane and safe, which is a risk for the military, and you knew it could be aided and fixed, you knew it was abnormal, wouldn't you want them to be safe? Wouldn't you want them to feel comfort? Wouldn't you want them to have experience in what they signed up for, quote unquote, within reason? So the mirror always flips back and forth, and I can look at myself and you can look at yourself, and I guess the more we communicate and explain and talk about life, I don't know, poop, I think the better we're going to be. Nobody wants to be on a boat sloshing around with poop and pee, guys. If I'm on that boat with my daughter, like, I can survive, like, well, but like a kid, man, she don't know. I cannot explain to her. I cannot put it into a conceptual idea. She has no context for what is occurring. And that's not fair to a kid. It's not fair to a child. Does it sound like other things in this world? Right? So it's just, once you are born, Again, I didn't check boxes to be here. Okay? I'm not sad, guys. That's not I'm going to go. It's 30 minutes. The point is, let's care for each other. Let's communicate with each other. Let's have conversations. If both parties are willing and able, and we'll be respectful. And I think hopefully that's the start to figuring out solutions. There's no solution.